Deidre Wayans, Keenan's sister. But Craig is no less a part of this family legacy and this entertainment dynasty, having written, produced in many of the Wayans productions, TV shows, and films. And he is now owner of a new branch of the family business, Second Generation Entertainment. Please welcome Craig Wayans. Last night, when he was judging our elevator pitch, which was great. Next to Craig, we have Jessica Johnson. Jessica gave a lovely acceptance speech yesterday. I hope you were all there at the Small Business Awards luncheon, where her business, started by her grandmother more than 50 years ago, earned our Family Business of the Year award. Along with her brother Charles, she runs the business that her grandmother founded. She's president and principal of Johnson Security Bureau, which is a securities firm started by her grandmother, as I said, passed on to her father, who ran the business until becoming ill and passing away a few years ago. She has grown the business phenomenally since that time, and she is one of a growing number of women who are taking over their family businesses. Please welcome Jessica Johnson. Finally, we have Bill Perkins. Few CEOs in any industry are as steeped in experience and acclaim as Bill Perkins is. This year, he was named Time Magazine's Auto Dealer of the Year. He was the first African American to chair the North American International Auto Show in 2012 in Detroit. If you haven't been there, we went there with the show this year. It was fantastic. And also, last year at this very conference, exactly 1 year ago today, his Bill Perkins Automotive Group was named Black Enterprise Auto Dealer of the Year. This BE100 CEO is in the midst of his family's transition from his generation to the next, and he can speak to this as a member of the first generation of founding business owner in a way that few can. So we are really fortunate to have this panel. Please welcome them all. Just to start off, I don't know if you were all here yet, but when Magic Johnson addressed us at the opening of the conference on Wednesday, he talked about having family in the business. And he said he actually pays his family to stay away. So I would just like to hear from each of you, why is it so important to you, and Bill, we can start with you, to have your business be a family business? You could have done anything. You could have had anyone succeed. You could have gone many routes. Same for all of you. You can do anything. Why build a family business?
I guess for me, starting out working for a corporation, I realized early on that I was not in control of my life. You know, these people, they were paying me good money, but they control my life. Okay, Bill, we like the job you're doing, but you know, we're going to promote you, so we're moving you to Los Angeles, California. We're moving you to Kansas City, Missouri. All of a sudden, when I started getting older, I had a wife and family, it was okay for me because I could move and I had my coworkers as other people to depend on, but here's my wife and family sitting there, they have to start all over. So having been in the automobile business and calling on dealers, I wanted to take control of my own destiny. I wanted to have control of my life. And I had the exposure to this type of lifestyle by calling on dealers. So I took the plunge, I quit the job, and you know, my wife wasn't very happy about it because she had no idea, you know, what to expect. But I said, trust me, and she trusted me. First time I failed, and she was mad at me. I said, but I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up. I said, just give me a little while. So in 5 years, I got back in. And when I got the second opportunity, I never looked back.
Jessica?
For us, it's a matter of culture and community. My grandparents were both from the South. They moved up to New York City, and they had to build a new community because they didn't have as many family members there as they did back home. But also, they could relate to the experience back home where things were segregated. So they couldn't go to a major supermarket. They went to a family store. They got they used family businesses where they were from, and so community and culture were important for them when they moved to New York. And they instilled in us the importance of doing business with other family businesses. So, for example, we listened to WBLS, WLIB, the Sutton family. We went to eat at Sylvia's, and we would see Mrs. Woods and her other family members working around the restaurant. They subscribed to publications like Black Enterprise, Ebony, and Jet to support the Johnson family. And so we were able to see successful family businesses. We were able to be a successful family business. And now we're able to present and demonstrate to our community what it means to be a successful family business. So the culture and community aspects were very important for us.
Greg, you could do anything to go about this anyway. Why continue the family business framework?
So I'll talk about it. It was more so taking the little brother with me. That was the thing in our family. And being a large family, we came to become friends with yourself. So it became second nature, and everything we did bring each other. And when it came to business, we would sit in on meetings, and we sold up information without even knowing that we were doing it. So it just was coincidence that we went into the family business.
Did you all hear that? No. Okay, let's switch out your mic. And while we're doing that, you know, I think whether people regard a family business as a dream come true or your worst nightmare, there's no question that even in the dream case scenario, there are a lot of challenges. Talk about the most significant challenges. Well, he's working now. Talk to us about the most significant challenges and how you've vaulted over them. Bill?
There are a lot of challenges when you're trying to go through that transition, but in my case, I think one of the most important things is you have to have a plan. You have to plan for it. And a lot of times you're planning for something or someone, and that individual may not want what you're planning for. So I think step number one is that you have to make sure they want and basically want the same thing that you want. And I'm very fortunate because not only did my son want it, he wanted it before, you know, it was his time. You know, his time is still coming, but, you know, I try to get him to understand, you know, there's a lot of things between A and B. And you've got to go to step B, step C. And right now, you know, he's at step B. He's doing well and he's learning the business, but there are still outside things that he needs to take into account. I mean, he's young enough, he's not married, he's doing very well.
How old is he? Tell us. How old is he?
Monty's 25. And as a result, you know, when you take a 25-year-old young man and you put him in a business that's, you know, generating a lot of money, a lot of times it can take the wrong, you know, trail or whatever. What I'm trying to say is he's got his time, he's putting in his time. Right. And I am slowing him down and pushing him along as we go along.
Okay, just so that everybody really has a full picture, how much money are we talking about?
This particular dealership generates about $50 million.
Oh.
Yeah. And how long has he been working in the business?
How long have I been in the
As
business?
as Mark.
He's been there 3 years, since he graduated from college.
And what did he start as?
He started as a porter. Then he worked his way up, he sold cars, then I sent him to a dealer training school. And when he came out, he was selling, but my present general manager, we were fortunate enough to put him in another store, And so I just took the opportunity and I put him in as general manager.
Okay. Just wanted to make it clear. Okay. Jessica, how about you?
One of the biggest challenges that I see is if you're in corporate America or you work for a private business, you don't have the same familial context that you have in a family business. So you can disagree with someone at work and you can leave and it's over. You disagree with family. You come to Sunday dinner and
Say that
you
again.
want to say, I love you, but I don't like you right now. because the other things, the baggage from whatever point in time will come out. And because there are 3 generations of us, we would often come, my grandmother cooked dinner every Sunday. My grandmother cooked dinner most nights, bless her heart, I don't know how she did it. Ran the office, came home, kept the house, cooked dinner, we all ate together. And afterwards, she would sit down and keep the books. Bless her heart, I can't do that. But on Sunday dinner, we started talking about church, we started talking about the family, and when it got to business, it could sometimes get very heated. And some of the issues that came up were not germane to business. It was things like, you forgot to put gas in the car. You haven't put gas in the car since you were 16. Why don't you ever put gas in the car? Wait a minute, we're talking about how we're going to get this government contract. What is that? Gas in the car. So that's one of the bigger challenges is maintaining the separate relationships and roles.
So how do you manage that? Did you create rules? Is it just all over the place? Wing
I'm
the prayer?
still learning. You
Pray
can
on.
ask my mama, she's sitting right there. She has to be referee. Throw the flag in because me and my baby brother, and even though my brother's 6'5", he's my baby brother. We don't always see eye to eye with the business, and so she has to come in and referee. And you would think, y'all nearly 40. But that's one of the idiosyncrasies, but the beauties of family business. You bring who you are to the business, your whole self, where you might not be able to do that in a corporate setting. So it's a challenge, but it's a beautiful challenge.
Carolyn, can I interject something along with what she's saying? Because everyone else can tell you what you should be doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I have lived this because it was my downfall when I first started. And I'm trying to listen to all these experts and they're telling me, you do this and you do that. And I learned the hard way. Don't listen to those people. If you know what you're doing, I shake my head yes, and as soon as they walk out the door, I get it out of because they will have your business completely turned upside down. Because they're not there. They do not have the responsibility that we have. But they think they know everything you're doing and what you should be doing.
Right. Jessica, how did it come to be that you rose to the helm in your company? Was it in, tell us.
We were very blessed in that neither my grandmother nor my father had the expectation that we would have to take over the business. They always left it as an option. And I think that takes a lot of pressure off the next generation, especially when you're trying to teach them how to be independent and you want to get them engaged, but you can't have them engaged and at the same time say, well, you know that you're next in line. And just because we work in a male-dominated industry, people tend to think, oh, the son is next in line, the son is going to take over the business. And my father, my mother as well, they were very strong in pushing us to do what we wanted to do, to say, Johnson Security is an option, but you have other options. So go into the world, do what's going to make you happy. And actually, I think that kind of helps to make us better at how we run the business because we worked outside of the business and got other experiences that we bring back. It just so happened it was easier for me, excuse me, to come into the business when my dad got sick because my brother had started a new job and he was trying to get into his role and his aspirations career-wise. And so for me, I was working for a pharmaceutical company, and I remember I was about to get promoted, and in the interview, the manager said, well, why do you need this job?
I don't.
And I stopped, and I lost my mind for a second, but I came back. I said, I don't need this job. I said, I have a company with my name on it. And if you choose to promote me, I will give you my all, but I don't need this. And once I had that realization that I didn't need them, it made it easier for me to leave corporate America so much time and energy into somebody else's life. And I know you said, these people can decide tomorrow they don't want it. And my dad got sick in May. In June, they announced that they were downsizing my department. And in September, I had to call. Okay, your job is gone. What do you want to do? You want a severance package or you want to go work in Long Island? I said, okay. And luckily, that afforded me the opportunity to take paid sick leave to spend time with my dad in the last few weeks and get my mind right. But because it was easier where I was working to make the transition, that's why I did it as opposed to my brother. And I can now support him in some of the other things that he's trying to do. So you don't have as much flexibility with that when you're working in a corporate situation, and family businesses can't allow you to do that.
Greg, you have such a line up and down. What are the major challenges that you all confront?
The major challenge is being able to run, because we come in with our own ideology of what we want to do. We're lucky to have such a supportive family where they're more like, okay, do what you want to do, but here is the blueprint. You can go wherever you want to in there, but always remember to maintain and stay in the blueprint. And with the support, it allows us to do whatever we want.
Do you think that the fact that you're in an artistic business where creativity is sort of the heartbeat of what you do, that keeps everyone sort of more open-minded about letting you have that rope, or is that not the case?
For us, it's kind of, it's the audience that chooses for us, and we have to convince the audience. Whereas in the family, they're like, do what you want to do. But if you lose the audience, you're not part of the house anymore.
So there is pressure though to maintain the brand and the legacy.
Outside of the family, inside of the family, no. When it's time to sell something, it's not comedy. You have to really strap on your boots and go hard.
Right. I know that you always do this from other sessions, but I was supposed to encourage and remind you that you can text your questions as it's there on the screen, and I will try to set as much time as possible aside for them. So just go ahead and start texting, and we will go there because we get more questions in when we do it via text as opposed to link. You know, I think it's interesting. You touched upon some of the things that have been identified as the keys to having a successful multi-generational family business, which is having people work outside and bring expertise in as opposed to anointing people, you know, in the crib and then just letting them learn in your business as opposed to someone else's. But there were several other things that have been identified, and I'm curious as to how much of that you will incorporate into your businesses. The first is that the business has to constantly reinvent itself. Obviously, if you're going to go through multi-generations, you can't be 3 generations in what you were at the start. The second is there have to be clear employment policies specifically for family members. So you have to have it built in that you don't necessarily have a job for life just because we share the same last name. Succession planning, Bill, which you talked about, actual planning, which is why so many of those businesses that intend to succeed through generations don't, is because the intention is there, but the real strategic plan may not be. And then getting outside input. You know, I think there's a risk with family businesses that they can be very insular, and you need to go outside. You may reject what the experts say, but that it's key to get information in, because otherwise, if you're operating in a cocoon, you may not get a sense of best practices. How many of those things have you all incorporated into your businesses, and what are some other things that you think are just absolutes in terms of being able to manage family successfully?
Well, I think what you mentioned, a lot of those things are true. For example, I think that for my son, for example, he needed to see how other stores or other dealerships are run and operated before he came to my store. So he did an internship with one of the larger public groups, and he was down there for 6 months. Then when I put him through the training program, he didn't train at the store I was at. He trained at the other store that I owned, and I'm not there that much. It's a different team. It's a different operation. So he was able to learn that. The other thing that my son does know, just because we have the same last name, I will fire you. He knows that. The other thing that I try to do as an owner and as a father, I realize that his way of doing things is probably going to be a lot different than the way I did things when I was in the business and have come up through the business. So I do not try to force my ways of doing business or running the business. The only thing that I enforce goes back to what you said. I have certain policies and procedures, and I make sure that those policies and procedures are followed. That's where I come in. But as far as the day-to-day operation, the hiring of the people, I'm kind of leaving that up to him. I believe you learn by work. And I have thrown him in, and I haven't walked away. I'm still there if he needs advice, but I want him to learn on his own. And, you know, the other thing is this. Most of the people that work in this business, I have 63 employees at this store. Those 63 people are used to working for me. They're not used to working for him. And, you know, there's that old saying, well, here comes the son, he's got a silver spoon in his mouth. Well, I can't force those people to like him. He has to earn that respect. And that's one reason that I've kind of gotten out of the way. That's on him. He's got to earn his own way. And he's doing a fairly good job of it. I mean, when you've got employees that have been there for 30 years, you know, they're saying, well, you know, how's this kid going to tell me how to do anything? I mean, he has been very successful at assisting those people in accomplishing tasks that have been put before them. So he's got a long way to go, but he is, in my opinion, he's making great strides. Have we suffered any profit-wise? No. Are we selling as many cars and trucks as we'd like to? No. That's the real goal that is in front of him. He's the one that has to develop that plan in order for us to maximize in those particular segments. We're doing very well. You know, there's 6 different departments in the dealership. 3 of them, 4 of them are doing very, very well, but the other 2, we're suffering in somewhat. So that's his goal, is to put it together so that all 6 cylinders click at the same time.
Has your personal relationship changed since he became your employee?
You know, I've always been close to my son, and I'll tell you, the only thing that has changed is that, you know, now I'm the one that's exposed. You know, he knows, you know, everything that I do. You know, it's kind of hard to explain. You know, I can't really go out. If I go to a meeting and I want to, you know, have a good time or something like that, well, you know, he's there, he's watching, you know. Our relationship has not changed. I think we've become closer. You know, he's my general manager, and I've always been close to my general managers. They know, you know, everything that I do, every move that I make, because they're basically running the business for me. So a lot of the little things, I mean, I've had to alter the way that I am sometimes.
You say that you would hire him?
Yes.
But can you really envision firing him, and what would he have to do? Are the standards different for him than for your other employees?
No.
Realistically?
No, and you can ask people that know me very well. I mean, if he messes up, and when I say mess up, here's what I mean. Should he make a move that we're going to lose some money on, he's going to have a problem. He's going to have a problem. He knows how strict I am. That's the reason my daughter really has chosen not to come in. She basically told me, she said, Dad, I don't think I can work for you. You know, a couple of reasons. She said, 1, you don't pay enough. You know. Two, she said, I don't think I can take you getting upset and screaming at me, because I have been known, if I lose my temper, I'm going to lose my temper. You know, would I want to fire my son? No. But I can honestly say, up to this point, the last 3 years, he has not given me a reason to even think about having to fire him.
But ultimately, the business is more important than his being employed there.
The business is more important, and the other thing, let me stress this, you know, I have other alternatives. You know, I've owned these stores for, you know, one of them for 20 years and the other one for 12. So, you know, I can always very valuable stores, and I can always sell the stores. So, you know, that kind of hangs over his head. You know, I've said to him, this is the family's legacy, and if you think I'm going to let it start to deteriorate or go down the hill, it's not going to happen. So, you like your job, you know, you like riding around in nice cars, you like making nice money, you keep this going. Because, you know, eventually when I back out, you know, I'm going to the mailbox on the 15th and the 30th.
Okay.
Well, yeah,
And
in
it's-
business, you always have multiple plans.
Right.
I got fired by my uncle, and it sucks. It's kind of amusing because he took me out. We went clubbing, we hung out, spent the night at his house, rode him with him to work, and he was like, "You're fired." I was like, "Why?" He's like, "Because you're late." I was like, "But I was with you."
Was he serious?
Yeah, he was serious.
Which uncle?
David.
This was for the TV show?
That's for the teacher. He hired me back.
How long did it take to hire you back?
It was about 2 weeks.
Were you late after that?
No, not at all.
So lesson learned.
Yeah.
What about you in terms of incorporating these other sorts of key concepts into succeeding? I know you have children and you bring them to work and you're sort of engendering
Yeah,
this.
I trick them into coming into the family business. I'm very supportive of what they do. Like, my son wants to be a basketball player, so I'll be like, "Oh, that's cool. They can practice everything." I'll say, "You know what, you should try a drama class." And they're like, "I want to be there." I'm like, "Cool, but if you're a successful basketball player, you're going to be giving speeches. So you should get into the drama class. You'll present yourself well." I'm like, "All right, you're right, I'll try that." And just things like that. I do.
And why is it important to you? Why do you want to ensure that it continues?
It's not sure that it continues. It's just in my work field, I work a lot of hours, so I like having them here. And that's what it is. That's what my uncles did. That's what everybody did. It's more so that we don't grow apart. It's come with me. If you learn, cool. You're going to end up learning anyway. So just come on and let's spend this time.
You have such a large family. Is it difficult to manage the various branches and
It's not difficult. It's time consuming, I'd say. We celebrate almost everyone's birthday together, and we have about pretty much a big family dinner every month. And that's how we stay together.
And are there strategic portions to celebrations? Is the business totally separated out and apart from the personal?
With being in comedy, it's always part of what's going on. It doesn't start off as business, but after the laughs start going, it's like, "Oh, that's a good idea. That's right there."
So it's sort of built into who each of you is. Jessica, how about you? You talked about bringing experience in from outside, but some of these other keys to really keeping it going. How many of those were already instilled before you in the prior generations, and how much are you having to build in now? Because you're really taking the business to a whole new level.
Can I just say, like Mr. Perkins said he would fire his son. My grandmother told me she would never hire me. Once I got out of graduate school, she looked at me, she said, "Where you going to work now? I don't understand. You're young people. You always changing your job. My day, we got a job and we stayed somewhere. I would never hire you." I said, "Well, I'll never work for you." And even though I laugh at the conversation now, I look back and I'm sad that I never took the time to work with her in the business more when she was alive, because there's so much I could have learned from her. I mean, I watched her as I was a young girl and as I grew, and how she was a businesswoman and just a lady and all that she did. So we don't have many of those things that you mentioned in place. Like you talk about managing the roles of the different individuals. My brother and I were peers, we're equal. So I can't really manage him as much as I would like to. I can't look him in the eye and say, "Okay, this is what you're going to do," because we have the same level of accountability. We do use outside advisors who have experience working with family businesses, so they understand that extra stuff and help us to keep things in perspective. But like Franz mentioned, having an intersection, we also do business with people who are not in family businesses, so they give us a different perspective. We have advisors who don't work with family businesses, so we can get the yin and the yang when we're dealing with different issues. And eventually, we probably do need to put pen to paper and make policies regarding hiring family members. Like right now, one of my mother's sisters works for us. When we talk about family businesses and success, when we talk about the next generation, it may not be children. It might be the previous generation, because we have a workforce that's coming out that has skills and talents and ideas, and there's no sense to let those go to waste on the sidelines when they could be putting those into our family businesses. So it's been interesting working with my aunt, because I love her, and I've always looked up to her, but it's hard managing a relationship with now being the boss. So you've given me some ideas to go back home and put the pen to paper and make some policies, because eventually it has to go past I love you, okay, now I need you to do this job, not because you're my aunt, but because you're my employee.
We're going to open it up to questions. And
So there's two types of family members you can hire. There's the type that will come and kick their feet up, will end up getting fired, and there's the one that comes and works 10 times harder because they're representing the family.
there are only two types.
You know, before we go to questions, you touched on something a while ago, and I'd like to just speak a little bit about it. And you talked about the importance of having a business in the family and what it can really do for you. And the thing that I've seen is just that, in calling on being a consultant for other dealers, I've watched the way these people live their lives. And when you see what's going on in the world today and how young people are having trouble, you know, first of all, they go to college, then they come out, they've got all these student loans, they try to get a decent job to pay off these loans. It's almost like it's very hard for them to actually get ahead in life. Whereas with a family business, if you can keep that business in the family and it continues to run at a profitable pace, then what you're really doing is guaranteeing that your family does not, they may not have to participate, or they may not have to go the same route as some of the younger people coming along. So that's the importance for me. I see what a family business has done for me and the control that I have over my life. And I would like to see my family continue this, not only my children, but their children, if that business continues to go. And I think that bringing young people into your business, you know, as older individuals, we kind of get set in our ways and we do things a certain way, but I would like to see my son and then eventually my daughter take that business and take it to the next level. It doesn't have to remain the same way it is. It's got to continue to change with the times so that it continues to operate in a profitable manner.
Which sort of touches on the first question. You talked about your daughter, and Craig, you talked about your children as well. How do you cope with family members not wanting to continue the legacy? This is an audience question.
I think my daughter, just because she's not in the business, I don't think that means she will never take part. She, you know, she's the educated one. You know, she just got her MBA, and she wants to do her own thing. But I think that doing her own thing, things will change as she goes along. You know, the job that she has, she's going to become a business consultant, working for a company out of Chicago, and when they have problems, she's one of these persons that will go in and help them solve their problems and give them different ways. But there's a lot of travel involved. I think once she's settled down, once she, you know, marries and starts a family, you know, her mindset is going to change. And I think when that takes place, I think that she may say, well, wait a minute, let me rethink this. You know, I don't want to change my standard of living, but, you know, I don't want to be out of town every night. So it's not that she doesn't want to participate. I think I'll have to find a way for her to participate. And, you know, I've already been thinking along those lines. And, you know, I'm also preparing her brother that, hey, when she comes in, you know, she has a right to come in because this is not all yours. You know, I mean, they get a little possessive. You know, he's saying, well, Dad, you know, I'm doing all the work. You know, she's not doing any of the work. So what?